I'll start with a quick review for this book, Permanent Record. I give this book 4 stars, and I definitely recommend this. It was interesting, fun to read, not in a good, not in terms of the information necessarily, but it was flowing. I could relate to many of the things, and it was interesting. I wanted to listen or read more. And I learned a lot. I learned about the story. It was in the news and everything. I read articles about it, but I think I even heard them on a podcast. But I learned more from actually reading the book than wherever else. It was staggering how much surveillance is improved and how much surveillance has been used against civilians and enemies, everyone else. It's an amazing story, and I feel bad for him. Overall, that another thing about this, reading this, you understand. He really gives you inside look about his views and what made him do that, and you really feel bad for him not being able or to come back or having to live in exile. Let's see the notes. Protocols are used as different languages to communicate between networks or computers. That's what protocols are. There's a few protocols, and those are basically different languages. Even clerks often require polygraph since they have access to sensitive information. So clerks at the offices, NSA, CIA, they also require to go through polygraph because they have a little access to sensitive information, therefore they also go through it. Growing up, he used to spend hours online learning things. It was interesting in learning whatever is possible, and that's what he used to do growing up. School for him was the extracurricular. He learned more at home, online, than at school. He was treating school as the extracurricular activities. As a kid, he was able to calculate that homework is not worth the investment. So he had a class and he calculated the points based on the syllabus that doing the homework part is not worth, so he just wanted to do the exams. And it was enough for him to get a B or something. Smart. One thing hard after the divorce was being questioned about the other side. So that was one of the hardest things in divorce is the other side asking you about the other side. One side asks you about how was it been and how they doing. That was the hard part. The company who hired him had an incentive to raise his salary since they paid a percentage. They offered him a higher salary than what he wanted because they get a percentage, so they have an incentive to get him a higher wage. The Perkinston Effect is what happened when a policy to help end up harming. That's the Perkinston Effect. Many of them happen to the United States many times. They're trying to help with a policy, but it ends up harming. CEO is a case officer, just not because he had a lot of CEOs. It's a case officer. Tor is the onion router. That's basically the acronym Tor, the onion router, which is that no server knows both sender and the receiver. So it's built for anonymity. The server doesn't know both the receiver and the receiver. You only know one. The server knows the receiver or know the sender. No one knows both. Therefore, you cannot be identified. The metadata, which is all the background information such as location, device, etc., is being collected unknowingly and in the background. So there's a lot of metadata that is being collected in the background when we do whatever we do. Side note, the author is a bit dramatic in regard to privacy. I think it's a little bit too dramatic about privacy and how much is important. I agree with most of his points, but I think to most people it's not important. The cloud is heavily controlled by the company and we have little control over what is being done with the copy of it. Or the cloud computing, which is more and more prevalent these days, is controlled by the company in which it's stored on. But we have little control over what is being done with our copy of the information. They can do a lot with the copy. Even if we don't care about our privacy, we might in the future. I think that's one of his best arguments for privacy. That even if we don't care about it right now, we might do in the future if we go for to a protest, or we do something that the government does not necessarily like. So I think that's one of his best arguments for privacy. Side note, the book is organized well and the episode's length is just about right. The timeline is very, very good. It takes you through when he's growing up and how everything devolved and how he got into the job and when he started to do his thing, how everything went. So I felt like that it's pretty good organized and the episodes are not too long. Sometimes many books like to do very long episodes and chapters. I don't understand why. He did it just about right. Finding a way to publish classified information was not easy for him. Apparently, it's not easy to find and how to do it without compromising yourself or the information. Deleting a file only deletes it from the map, but the file is still there. When you delete a file from the computer or a smartphone, the app does not delete itself. Only the map where it's located, but the file is still there and it can be retrieved. The key for the encryption was located in different places, so even if one isn't available, all are gone. So he encrypted all the files he took with him from the NSA, and the key for it, he put the keys, which is words basically, in many different places. So when one of them is not there, the whole key is gone. The government has a tool that is like Google, but for looking for people's online activity. I'm not sure they still have it, I'm sure they still do. But the government has that tool that it's like Google. You can Google someone and then you can see a lot of their online activity, which is a bit concerning. That's it for the notes. Again, it was really interesting. Fun book to read. Fun again in a way. It was interesting and engaging. And learned a lot from it. So I would definitely recommend. 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you.